I am so excited to be introducing you guys to Overbooked. This is a new series that I'm going to be starting on my channel to help me stop buying so many books and to kind of put myself on a book buying ban. The beginning of the year, one of my goals was to buy less books and to make my shelves look like things that I absolutely love, to be full of things that I absolutely love. And I've done a better job of that this year, but not as good of a job as I want. And my friends keep telling me that I need to focus on buying less books. They keep encouraging me to do it. And so I was finally convinced to do something like this on my channel, and I'm so excited for it. Honestly, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun and a way to challenge me but also visually see my progress. I've learned through doing one shelf that there are a lot of books on my shelves that I just don't want to read or are not really like my vibe anymore, or I'm not going to enjoy because I'm DNFing a decent bit of them, which is good because it's getting books off of my shelves, but also I want to start with books that I love. So I'm really going to be trying to make a more conscious effort, and I think Overbooked is going to help me do that. Here in a second, I will walk you guys through what the board looks like, all of the different categories, how it's going to work, what the prompts look like, what the tiers and the reward system looks like, how I'm going to be able to buy books, all of that fun stuff. But there are going to be a couple of exceptions to this. The first one is if I read a book and I rate it a 4 or a 5 star and I absolutely love it, I can buy that without having a book buying reward from Overbooked. That is because I loved it. If I want it on my shelves, I don't have to wait. I can still go ahead and buy that book. So I did want to kind of preface that as a reward in and of itself, that if I love a book, it's okay. I also am going to use subscription boxes as an exemption because I don't get control over how many skips I get in a book box. That is predetermined, and if I've used all of them and I'm trying to be more conscientious of using my skips, then sometimes I'm just going to get things, and that's okay. I'm oftentimes going to get things that I haven't read yet. That's normal. A lot of these are new releases that I haven't had the opportunity to read yet, so that is also going to be an exemption. That does not necessarily count special edition books because those I have a choice of getting or not. These are just subscription boxes that I currently have. What happens if I buy a book and it did not meet either of those qualifications? I'm gonna have to remove a sticker. I'm gonna be getting stickers in each of these categories, and if I buy a book and it is not a 4 or 5 star, or it is not a book box, then I'm just gonna have to take a punishment for that. I'm gonna have to remove it. We'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like here and how I'm gonna decide where I'm removing things from, but that is gonna be my punishment on if I buy a book and I wasn't exactly supposed to. So let me reposition so that I can show you guys what the board looks like. We'll go through everything, and then you can let me know if you have any questions at the end, but I'm so excited for this. It should be scary, and it is a little bit scary because I love buying books. I'm a book dragon. I just love it, but also I think this is going to be really good for me and a lot of fun. Okay, so I came down here so that it was hopefully a little bit easier to see. The focus is not going to be great, so we're going to do the best we can. Across the top, it says book ban. Each of the different letters corresponds to a different category. So for the first letter, B, we have borrowed. So this is a book that I got from KU, I got from the library, I got from Everand, Scribd, something that I have not purchased. This needs to be a book that I don't already own because otherwise it kind of defeats the purpose. So anytime I borrow a KU book to try it out before buying it, that's going to count. Anytime I go to the library instead of purchasing the book, that's going to count. I really want to try to focus this to books that I don't already own because otherwise it feels like it defeats the purpose a little bit for me. I want to try to not buy books, and that is already utilizing books that I have on my shelf. I may change that later, but I feel like it makes it just a little bit more challenging, and that's kind of the point. Then we have our first O, which is going to stand for over 500 pages. These are those chunky books that I have really been avoiding, things that maybe intimidate me a little bit, really encouraging me to pick up the thicker books on my shelves that I may or may not have prioritized. So anything that is over 500 pages is going to count for that. And I'm going to take this very literally. If it's 499 pages, it does not count. It needs to be 500 or 501 plus in order to count for the square. This one is not going to matter whether it's on my shelves already or whether I have purchased it. Although if I've purchased it, I've kind of already removed my sticker anyway, so that's not really the point. Our next O is on a TBR. So this is a book that I already own, whether that be an Audible book or a physical book, an ebook. I mostly just count this honestly as my physical TBR, and that's kind of the way it is in my head. I'm willing to make an exception if I already own the book on Audible and I don't own it physically, but it's not going to count if it's on a friend's account or something like that. It needs to be something that is on my TBR, something that I have gotten that I need to read, and I'm going to try not to count KU books and stuff like that toward it since we already have a different square for that. I want this to be things that I physically own, so my one shelf episode episodes are going to be really, really good for hitting that square because those are books that I physically own that I need to get off of my TBR. Then we go to K, which is a Kindle book. I think I'm going to allow this to be KU books. So if I borrow a book from Kindle Unlimited, there's 2 places that it could technically go, but my goal is for this to be things that I've gotten from like Stuff Your Kindle Day and things like that. I have tried not to participate too much in those sales because I do read so many books on KU that are already on there. Like the sale books tend to be books that are on KU, but that's not always the case. And there's some books that I've had in the past, or like Darcy Cope books or things like that are not on Kindle Unlimited that I have a harder time getting from the library. So anything that I read from my Kindle library will count toward this square. It just is a little bit up to interpretation which square I put it in if it happens to be a KU book. Then we move on to Ban. So for the B in Ban, it's going to be a book from a book box. I am going to allow this to be a special edition that I purchased or a subscription box. Theoretically, I should not be buying the special editions outside of the subscription box unless I have read them and enjoyed them, so they wouldn't count for that, but I don't always do the best at that. There's definitely a few I can think of that I succumbed to a very pretty book and have not read it yet, and so I really shouldn't have done that, but I did. So that would count, but I'm thinking more along the lines of like subscription boxes, my Fairy Loot boxes and things like that, that I may or may not have read the book and it was just their pick, and so I ended up getting it. Hopefully I was excited about it, but that'll help me kind of clear off some of those special editions. And then if I don't enjoy them, I can put them on Pango, get them off of my shelves, and it still helps to curtail my TBR to things that I actively want on my shelves. Then we have the A, which is an ARC book. So this is going to be a book typically from NetGalley. That's where I get most of my ARCs. I do have a few physical ARCs, but for the most part, most of my books come from NetGalley. However, I also get Libro FM ARCs. I am a part of their influencer program, which just basically means that we get early books every month and it rotates through every month. So if I read one of those, which I have a decent amount stacking up, I don't even really want to know how many because it's too many. There's no consequence for borrowing those, so I tend to go a little crazy. But if it's a book from there, that will absolutely count as well. Technically, I'm a part of the Penguin Random House influencer program, but I haven't been borrowing books from there recently. If I did, that would also count. There's just a couple of places that I can get ARC books from, but I really, really need to focus on getting those read sooner rather than later and trying to get those read before the deadline. So I'm actually thinking that I will get a extra like bonus if I read it before the book comes out, because I have a tendency to wait till they come out and then just use that as like my Kindle book that I carry with me on the way to work and stuff. But that kind of defeats the purpose of getting an ARC. How to give myself like a leg up if I happen to read it early, or are we just going to say it only counts toward this square if I read it before the book comes out? I think let's do that. I think that's easier and more streamlined. Let's just say that it only counts for the ARC square if I read the book before it comes out. If I read it after, doesn't count. That's going to really hurt how many options I have. It's fine. And then N stands for nudge or next. So this can be a book that I need a nudge to pick up, a TBR vet, or something that I've been putting off for whatever reason. Maybe it is a book I'm not sure I'm gonna like. Maybe it is a book I think I'm gonna love, and so I've been putting it off, which there are a few of those. Maybe it is just something that hasn't come up in content planning yet, and so I haven't put it on the TBR. Or this could be a next in a series, something that I need a nudge to continue on in the series, because I have a tendency to not binge read series. I read one and then I want to move on to something else. So this would really give me the nudge that I need to continue on in those series faster, because it would count toward that square as well. So that is the book band squares. That's everything moving down the column. So like if it's an arc, it would start here and then I could go all the way down to 4 spaces of arcs. Anything over that is just great, you did a good job, but it's not going to count toward the reward system. So then let me scoot over and I'm going to show you guys the reward system. Okay, you can't see it super well, so I will pan in and show you guys this as well. But we have 4 different tiers. The first tier is going to be a sweet treat. So anytime I hit that tier, and I'll tell you exactly how I hit them here in a second, I will be able to get a sweet treat. Now for me, this doesn't mean eating a piece of candy out of my pantry. In my mind, this is going to crumble cookie or getting ice cream on the weekends or something like that, something that I would not normally do and might even feel guilty about spending money on, but I get to reward myself with that. So I'm excited to maybe get some more crumble in my life here soon. Tier 2 is DoorDash. I have been trying to save money and DoorDash less. Not been doing a great job at it, honestly. So I'm hoping that this will help me and encourage me not to do that unless I have gotten the reward for it. So I did cancel my DoorDash subscription. So if I do it, I will be paying for delivery. And so it needs to be a reward, not a habit, if that makes sense. So I think that this will really help as far as that's concerned. Then at tier 3, I get to clear TBR bluff early. So if I manage to hit this tier 3 perk, then I get to just wipe the board regardless of how many in a row I've gotten. This may end up getting switched with tier 4 depending on how easy it is for me to hit it. I don't want this to be easy. I want it to be a challenge, something that I look forward to doing. But I also love the idea of getting to clear TBR bluff early because I've definitely made that TBR game harder for myself this year. When I went down to a 5x5 instead of a 6x6, the game got a lot harder. And while that is highly entertaining for me when I watch it back and highly entertaining for you guys to see, it can be a little stressful in the moment. So I like the option of being able to clear the board early and reset, have a fresh start. And then obviously our tier 4 is the grand prize, and that is to buy a book. This can be a book from Barnes & Noble. This can be a book from Amazon. It can be a special edition book. It doesn't have to be a book I've read. I can just impulse buy, get something that I've been looking forward to reading that I just want to have in my hands, give myself a little serotonin boost, but it can also be a book that I've already read and I want to own too. So whatever I want to use that for, that is up to my discretion. It doesn't have to meet the requirements of a 4 or 5 star or a subscription box book that the exceptions were in the beginning. How do I get these tiers? How do I get the rewards? So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different categories. I think I'm gonna have to get 5 in a row on that tier in order to be able to count it as a reward. So I have these like removable cat stickers. I'll show you one of them because they're really cute. I have these like removable cat stickers, and anytime that I hit the prompt, I'm gonna put one of these stickers on there to like mark that I've gotten it. Once I complete it, I can put in a sticker. So the first time I read a borrowed book, it goes in tier 1. The next time I read a borrowed book, it goes in tier 2 until we go all the way down to 4. I have to get 5 in a row in order to be able to get that tier. So say during our next check-in, I have read 3 borrowed books, 2 books on my TBR. I've read 1 book from a book box, 2 books from an ARC, and 3 books that were a nudge or a next. There's only going to be able to be a tier 1 reward off of that until I continue to read, because that's the only one that I've gotten 5 out of. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully I've explained that well and how this is all going to work. I'm not going to do a official like this is where I'm starting. I'm going to start with a blank board, and then over the next 3 months I'm going to allow myself to kind of fill this in. Kind of what I'm leaning is quarterly or every 3-month check-ins in order to update you guys on where I'm at, see how many rewards I've gotten. Once I get a tier 4 reward, regardless of the other rewards that I've gotten, I can clear it and we start over again. So every time I'm able to buy a book, the board clears. Hopefully that all makes sense. Please let me know down in the comments if you have any questions and if there's anything that you're confused about or you want to know more about. I literally cannot wait. I think this is going to be so much fun, and I'm curious to see how much I stumble. Like, how much am I gonna go outside of this? If you want to just let me know that you were here and hanging out, leave me a big thumbs up for encouragement. I'm gonna do great on this challenge. I can feel it. If you want to join in with me, please let me know if you're gonna be doing it with me. I think it is so much fun to kind of hold ourselves accountable, but also make it a good time. As always, thank you guys so very much for watching, and I will see you soon with an update.